The Mississippi Delta is shining like a national guitar. In 1953, two boys met at a school talent show in Queens. By 1970, they were the biggest duo in music. Then one said, something unforgivable. Not about music, not about money. For the next decade, they sang perfect harmonies on stage while refusing to speak backstage. One secretly recorded 30 solo songs behind the other's back. The other erased vocals without asking. In 2015, one called the other a monster. In print, they wouldn't speak again for 9 years. This is how childhood friends became bitter enemies. Paul Simon was born on October 13, 1941 in Newark, New Jersey. His parents were Hungarian Jews. His mother, Belle, taught elementary school. His father, Louis, lived a double life. By day he was a college professor. By night he played bass in dance bands under the name Lee Sims. Their home was full of both books and music. Paul grew up surrounded by tradition, structure, and rhythm. Belle took him to synagogue. Louis took him to Yankee Stadium. Watching Mickey Mantle and Joe Diageo wasn't just about baseball. It was about heroes. Years later, Paul would write Diageo into Mrs. Robinson. Donald Fagen once said Paul was the classic New York Jewish kid, one who loved music and baseball, the two things that often helped immigrants feel like they belong. In 1945, when Paul was just 4, the family moved to Queens to a neighborhood called Kew Gardens Hills. That move changed everything. It wasn't just a new home. It was a new world. The family stayed up late watching Louis perform on TV shows like The Jackie Gleason Show and Arthur Godfrey and his friends. Paul saw his father go from teacher to performer in a flash. It left a mark. He realized music wasn't just sound. It was identity, performance, and career. The neighborhood in Queens was full of Jewish families who loved music and valued education. Paul soaked in every note. He discovered jazz, Woody Guthrie, and the gritty folk blues of Leadbelly. All of it shaped the way he saw the world. It wasn't long before he found a musical hero right in his school. In 1953, Paul was 11 years old. During a talent show at public school 164, he saw a boy his age, Art Garfunkel, sing alone on stage. A girl whispered how good he was. That did it. Paul was hooked not just on singing, but on the idea of singing as a way to impress people, especially girls. The two met again later that year when they both acted in Alice in Wonderland for their 6th grade graduation. It was just a school play, but for them it was the start of a musical empire. Their voices blended like they were meant to be together. They formed a doo-wop group called the Pepton and performed at school dances and block parties. Paul started writing songs. By age 13, he had already written their first original. By 15, they weren't just classmates. They were recording artists. In 1957, under the names Tom and Jerry, they recorded Hey Schoolgirl, a song inspired by their obsession with the Everly Brothers. They wrote it by accident while trying to remember the lyrics to Hey Doll Baby. They scraped together $25 to record a demo. That was a lot for kids in 1957, but it worked. Promoter Sid Prohan heard them and signed them. Paul became Jerry Landis. Art became Tom Graff. The song hit number 49 on the Billboard charts. It sold over 100,000 copies. They even got a spot on American Bandstand. At just 15, they were famous. But beneath the surface, trouble was already brewing. Even then, Paul was doing more than singing. He had written their first song, The Girl for Me, when he was just 12 or 13. His father even wrote out the lyrics and chords, and that paper now sits in the Library of Congress. Art had the better voice. Paul had the pen and the ambition. That imbalance Paul, creating art performing, was there from the start, and it was only going to get worse. Between 1957 and 1964, Paul lived a secret musical life. While still working with Art, he also recorded over 30 songs under fake names. Jerry Landis, Paul Kane, and True Taylor. He worked across multiple labels: Amy, Big Hunt, King, Tribute, and Madison. This wasn't just a hobby. Paul was quietly building a solo career behind Art's back. He wasn't just recording his own songs. He was writing and producing for others. By 1962, he was working for Amy Records and producing songs for Doy Daniels, the Vevels, and Richie Cordell. His first solo single as True Taylor came out in 1958. That means he was already planning his own career just months after the success of Hey School. The real damage came when Sid Prozen approached Paul directly, offering him solo deals without telling Art. Paul didn't mention it. Art found out later, and it broke him. He later said the betrayal shattered their friendship. He never forgave it. While Art still believed in their duo, Paul was preparing an escape. That hurt a lot, especially because Tom and Jerry were struggling to repeat their first hit. Paul didn't wait. He moved on. Art only realized what was happening when it was too late. Paul's success without Art made things worse. In 1962, with a new group called Tycho and the Triumphs, Paul scored a modest hit with Motorcycle. It reached number 99 on the Billboard charts. At the same time, he released The Lone Teen Ranger under Jerry Landis. It charted at number 97. These were small wins, but they proved Paul didn't need Art to succeed. The Tycho and the Triumphs project revealed Paul's calculating side, though. Another singer named Marty Cooper was the face. Paul sang lead on the song. That charted. He was pulling strings behind the scenes while keeping his solo identity separate. This confirmed what Paul already believed. He could make it alone. That made his earlier betrayal feel even more strategic. He wasn't just branching out. He was replacing Art without telling him. In 1958, they split. It wasn't dramatic at the time. They just drifted, but the damage was deep. They didn't reconnect until 1963, 5 full years. During that time, Paul released more than 30 songs under various names. Art tried to make music, too, but without Paul's network or drive, he didn't get far. Paul Simon and Art Garfunkel didn't reunite in 1963 because they missed each other. They were desperate. By 1963, Paul was barely hanging on. He worked for a music publisher cold calling labels to pitch songs. One of his songs, He Was My Brother, caught the attention of Columbia Records producer Tom Wilson. But Wilson didn't want Paul. He wanted the song for a British group. So Paul made a bold move. He convinced Wilson to give him an Art 1 studio audition. They sang The Sound of Silence. Wilson, who'd worked with jazz legends like Miles Davis, was stunned. He loved Paul's lyrics and Art's clear voice. That one audition got them a real contract. For the first time, they used their real names. But their troubles were just beginning. Their debut album, Wednesday Morning, 3 a.m., was a total failure. Released in October 1964, it sold just 1,000 copies in 8 months.